Testing, testing. Check one, check two. Yeah, I got the mic turned up, so I don't know. Should be pretty sensitive. So, reading of chapter 3. Not much else is really going on. I know there's definitely a need for people to go through materials, talk amongst each other. Um, so first, it has turned down some of the music there. It's still a little loud. Certainly loud on my mic. All right. I think I'm pretty happy with the way things are set up right now. So, chapter 3, reading, writing, and importing data. All right. So, to be able to work with SAS libraries and permanent data sets, um, to be able to read and write permanent SAS data sets, and to be able to interactively import data from another program, that should be pretty nice. Interactively, what do they mean by maybe interactive mode or something? I'm not sure. To be able to define SAS libraries using program code, to be able to import data using code, to be able to discover the contents of a SAS data set. Interesting. And to be able to understand how the data step reads and stores data. And so the data step is a way of setting up the SAS data set. So transferring, I guess, writing the code so that the data can be understood by SAS. And so the data step is one of those things that I guess we really have to understand when we talk about creating the data step, the procedure steps, and all of these different things. Yeah, so I like how they start off. The era of big data has arrived. Organizational data sets are growing by leaps and bounds. Institutions, government agencies, and businesses gather information from individual transactions, which can result in hundreds of thousands of data values each day. So, whether the data set you are working with has millions of records or a few hundred isn't the point of this chapter. The point of this is that once you read in your data, you will want to store it in a way that makes it easy to retrieve for analysis. That means that you may want to store more than raw data values. You'll want your data set to include variable names, labels for your variables, manipulations you've done to get it ready for analysis, and other information. This reminds me of databases, setting up the keys, linking it all, being able to merge, and append, all of those different scenarios. Working with SAS libraries, and permanent data sets. So SAS allows you to create permanent data sets that, once created, are easy to access and use. And keep in mind that an SAS data set is different from a SAS program code file or a raw data file. All right? And so, like in my library, in my SAS library here, we do have some SAS codes. We also have um, let's see, text files, DAT files, CVS, a lot of different things going on. The SAS code files, which we used in previous chapter, contain a listing. Be sure to in case it's just getting the information together, just a little study session going on. Messy 1, messy 2, messy 3. It's funny. I would have turned down the desktop audio. It's a little bit of brain music, you know. Maybe you should make it a little bit more upbeat, but regardless, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. So yeah, um, it says the SAS code files, which we used in previous chapter, contain a listing of SAS commands and use raw data values, either within the code file or an external file where we use the end file statement. The SAS code files and associated raw data files can be used to create a SAS data set, but the code file with raw data is not a SAS data set. Keep the following points in mind. Um, SAS data sets are first created by a data statement. Um, there are other ways to create a SAS data set that we'll learn later, are an internal representation of data created by a data statement, contain more than the data values. All right, they contain variable names, labels, and results of coding, calculations, and variable formats, are referred to by a name that indicates whether the data set is temporary or permanent. All right, and so, like for example, if I were to take a piece of data, maybe height, CVS or CSV, right, comma, separated values, and just drag it in. See, just move it in. It has now become a SAS data set. So it's actually you could do that with everything. With SAS, you don't even have to open it. You can just move it over, and it automatically becomes manipulated in the way that we needed it. Let's see if I can. You know why? I'm not seeing this. So that's pretty interesting. Here's my split code results, settings, um, the file name, the location of where it was located, um, which we can see it's in my home slash username slash SAS data set name import, and it's also in the work folder in my library. So a lot of things going on. Then here's both. So when I moved it over, to just drop it in, drop the table in. I guess that's a way to where you can immediately store information into your files. It gives it certain information. It has a proc import data file refile. More information, get names around proc. Now, in the essential book, though, they're probably going to talk more about doing this when you have the program or the Citrix program. But this is the on-demand version, and so the commands might be a little different. Um, but at any rate, we'll look at it. This is the technique for saving a SAS dataset as a file in a folder location is different from what is used in most Windows applications. Instead of using the file save paradigm, you store in SAS dataset using code in a SAS program. To illustrate how this works, you need to remember the basic difference between temporary datasets and permanent datasets. So a temporary SAS dataset is named with a single level name, such as measles or MAR 2000. It is created in a data statement and is available for analysis as long as you are using the SAS software, even if you run other code files and create other SAS datasets. When you exit the SAS software program, all temporary datasets are erased. A permanent SAS dataset is a file saved on your hard disk, or in our case, the server itself in a library, I believe. Um, a permanent SAS dataset is a file saved on your hard disk. It can be referred to with its two-part names, such as research.data1 or mysyslab.flu 2016, or with a window type specification, such as you know, the actual location. Figure 3.1 provides a graphical representation of how reading data into a SAS works by creating either a temporary work or a permanent data set. So we have raw data. Read the data into SAS using a data statement, and there's basically two ways to do that. The data stored in a temporary file, such as some data, also referred to as work.people, or data stored in a permanent SAS data set, such as my SAS lib.somedata, also referred to as SAS people, etc. And so what I believe is that this SAS data file took on the name my SAS lib in the library. And so when you're recalling it, maybe with a set statement or whatever, you can just do my SAS lib.somedata. Reading and store data in SAS. This is interesting. The following few sections present information on how to create permanent SAS data sets using two techniques. The first uses Windows file specifications, and the second uses SAS libraries. Um, so, obviously, um, we've been using the name data and then the name to be the name of the SAS data. However, we didn't have to put the name. We could also use the location. So creating permanent SAS data sets using the Windows file name technique. So let's look at this. It says, um, Okay. Well, my classmates got quiet on me. Wait, dude, you, I, this should be motivation for them, if anything, if nothing else. You know, or like, oh man, I gotta do my own thing now. I like everybody to stream and their channels. You know, that'd be great, man. It'd be awesome. Um, so yeah, I mean, so here and the Citrus implementation of SAS, they'll just basically say, take note of the location of your file drive, and then that's it. You're on your own after that. But it should be understood that we could just go into properties, copy it, and set that to be its name. So creating permanent SAS data sets using the Windows file name technique. So the Windows file specification technique for creating a permanent SAS data set is straightforward when using SAS in a Windows operating system. Instead of using a temporary SAS data set name, such as some data or mesos, in SAS data statement, use a Windows file name. So for example, instead of using data space people colon, you can use data the link and then um, colon. And how you implement this in a SAS program is illustrated in Figure 3.1. So right now, I'm gonna go to my SAS folder and see what I'm gonna try to do this. Um, you know, I don't even know if I if I even have it. So what they'll say is, how would you implement this in a SAS program illustrated 3.1? So consider the following code, right? That's SAS. I guess I should have kept reading. Let's see. So what I've done is I've changed the name instead of SAS/people for the right .SAS. I found it here, and then after the data, it gives you the input, and then the data lines. And so now it's going to become a permanent SAS data file. This is now. So I guess this is a way to actually um, make it permanent. So it says this code creates a data set called people on your hard drive in the C slash folder, and the window file name of this permanent file is people.sas.7b dat to summarize. So if I were to save this, or save as, it's gonna be of a different type. What is 7b dat? The statement data people creates an internal SAS data set that is temporary. It vanishes when you exit the SAS program, but the statement data with the path creates a permanent SAS data set stored on your hard drive. Now, obviously, it's not going to be stored on our hard drive. It's actually going to be probably stored on in our works folder or someplace like that. Well, I'm not even sure where it's going to be. I guess it'll be where they said it would be right here. Um, it'll be saved into this location, I guess, under this name, and it'll be permanent. I think it's already permanent though, because it's here in the first place. So, um, in fact, you can substitute the Windows file name specification anywhere using the SAS dataset name specification, and this is illustrated in several of the upcoming examples. So if you're using a server version of SAS, the reference to the location of the file in the hard drive will be different and shown. The examples for example, the Citrix implementation of SAS on Windows with your data stored in SAS data, you must use the following code rather than this. You got to use more like your client, this, that, and the. All right. This code replaces the data statement in the example where the server address client is used instead of C. The server folder access code you use may differ depending on your server implementation of SAS. The exact folder reference may be different for different server setups. So um, check with our server implementation. So we won't repeat this information for other examples. So you must take care to replace your C with the appropriate code if necessary for your server installation of SAS. Um, so yeah, I mean, so it says here, this example is just how to write data to a permanent data set. Basically, you must put the path name into the data path name, and it simply becomes permanent. Um, this might be too much info because we could already. It appears that's always going to be in there based on our server setup. So this might be unnecessary. Um, because the data set name in SAS is this, it follows that the data are stored in the SAS folder. So to verify this, open your SAS data folder using Windows Explorer. Verify the SAS data folder contains the name. Let me make sure, maybe mine says 2. So once you've let me run this code. So I've run the code. There was a mistake. So, so, so under the properties, then maybe I didn't get the correct location right. So here's my location, and I saved the location, so this should work. So okay, um, as you can see, I've run into a problem with this naming the data this name. They didn't like that. Um, so I may it might be best for me to use the library method instead of using this name. And I'm not gonna spend more time on this. I want to get through this section, so I'm gonna spend more time on looking at the other way to make a permanent data set. Uh, and so 3.3, and I'll eventually I'll come back and find out what happened. This might be a question I might have for the professor, but for now, I'm just going to look at um, creating permanent SAS data sets using a SAS library. So this is something that I think in the long run will be extremely beneficial to us, to anyone that wants to understand SAS in different ways. We have to understand everything that we're given. I think it's our job to get our certification in SAS or even to be able to work with SAS with ease. We have to be able to utilize the library system. Um, so let's go through this set, and then hopefully I'll try it again, and we'll see if it's going to work or not. Yeah, I'm probably not going to save it. Let me see if it saved it or not. It may have already saved it. Yeah, it saved it under the name. They just don't like this name for whatever reason. And it could be because it doesn't have. It should be longer than this. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, it could be. It seems like there's another path that it's not receiving. Like for example, it just starts with home, but it could be that they also want uh, the server name to be a part of the path as well. So, like I said, I have to look into that. So I'm going to close this out. So let's just move on for now. It's just 3.3, creating permanent SAS data sets using the SAS library. So in the previous section, you created a SAS data set to a window folder. And again, it didn't go anywhere, and that's probably why I got a message. I mean, we're working on a virtual server. So it says in the previous section, you created a SAS data set to a window folder by specifying a window file name, which indicated that the complete file name for the people.sas S7b dat file. That technique works only in the Windows environment. Another technique for reading and writing SAS data sets is using the SAS library technique. So before using the SAS library, you have to create one. The following two sections provide two methods for creating the SAS library. So um, now they tell us that the first way only works if you're in the Windows environment, but or if the Citrix environment, you got to know uh, what statement to put in. And so, maybe in my statement I didn't put enough information in there. I'm not sure. But it looks like the library system will be the best way. So there's two different ways. So um, before we learn how to set up a SAS library name, this section shows why it comes in handy. The SAS library technique involves creating a nickname that refers to a drive location called a library name. In SAS terminology, a library name. So for example, you could create a library name, such as my work, that refers to a simple location on your computer disk, such as C colon lots of files. Or you could create the my work library name that refers to a complicated network folder, such as so on and so forth. Once your library nickname is set up, you can use the short name to refer to your disk location rather than having to use complex window path name every time. With a library name, you could use the file designation mywork.jan2016 to refer to a SAS data file named jan2016.sas7b. rather than the more complicated name so on and so forth. So maybe that's what I did wrong then. Maybe that was too much. So let me go back here. Maybe I could have just did well. I could have shortened this to just SAS data dot write. And that would be really nice. All right, let's keep going. And yeah. So for the example in the book, we'll create the SAS library nickname and use it. Okay, so I have my SAS lib, which is kind of like this other one I was experimenting with. So I actually have two. This one's empty for whatever reason. I might have to use this one up there. So so therefore, when the library, yeah, the following two sections describe methods for creating the relationship linking window photo locations in SAS Library. Two important points to grasp the following. Every SAS library has a name, such as My SAS Lib, Research, My Data, and so on. Every SAS library name is a nickname that points to a specific folder, such as CNI, so on and so forth. So within the SAS program, every SAS data set has two parts to its name. So, for example, I would call the library name and then the data set name, the SAS data set. So, for example, the library name My SAS Lib and the data set My 2000 has two parts to its name when you're recalling something that's in the library. Even temporary files can be referred to with a temporary library name, work. Therefore, a file named work.lots of data consists of the library named work, which just refers to a temporary library, and then the data set name lots of data. The SAS naming convention is used for SAS data sets and all types of computers and operating systems, mainframes, Mac, Windows, and so on. Once you learn how to use the SAS Windows, you can easily transfer that skill to any other computer platform. To summarize, once you've created a SAS library named My SAS Lib that points to your C thing, the data set you refer to as My SAS Lib is stored on your hard drive. The following section illustrates how to create a SAS library name using two methods. The first method creates a SAS library name using the dialog box, and the second creates a library name in SAS code. Well, I've just created it using this button here, so I don't think I'm going to get all this fancy dialog box. I just did it the straightforward way. Um, and as far as what was the other way? And using the code would be nice. I'd like to see the code that you can use. But for this, yeah, I mean, we already have this. It's part of the package. In the Windows environment, I guess it's set up like this. In the SAS environment or whatever, we have task utilities, so on and so forth. They have libraries, file shortcuts. We have that as well. Nothing's in there. Okay. All right. Getting this down. Trying to get it down. Um, so yeah, that's the deal with that. That's pretty straightforward. So here's the other part. It's 3.5, creating a SAS library using code. So another way to create a SAS library is by using code. Creating a library within the code makes it active only while the SAS software is running when you exit the SAS program. The library nickname is forgotten by SAS, although any permanent data sets you've created are still stored in the folder referred to by the library. So you may use these permanent SAS data sets again by recreating a library nickname pointing to the Windows folder where the data file is stored. The following SAS code creates a SAS library named mylib2 at the location. So you just do lib name, path, finito, done. So here's a hands-on example of this. It says in this example, you would define a SAS library in the code and use the library name to read in a SAS data file. In SAS Explorer, display the window contents, refer to it, click on it, open it, hit libname1 and run. Run this program, libname. So I'll do, here's my program, libname, mylib2, colon, and I'm just going to do that and then run. So mylib2 has been created with success, no errors. So in the editor window, open the file, and I do see it there. I might delete it because I got too many of these now. The libname statement creates the SAS library nickname lib2. So here's the fun part, I guess. After you have created your SAS library, you can access data in the library within SAS procedures or as input into data steps. So then you don't, since it's permanent, you don't have to name it anymore. And when it's time to do the procedure, you can just call the data by its permanent name and hit run. It's interesting. So here's a hands-on example. So proc means data. I can do it with the permanent name here. I can do it with the data is equal to the MySys library dot this or another library, some other library name dot some data run. And that's a way to calculate the means in a single line of code. In this example, you will read data from an existing SAS data set, open the program file, read file.sas. The entire program consists of a single line of code. Note that the data equals statement includes information as that run this program to observe the output, a table of descriptive statistics created by the proc means statement. The data used in that procedure is from the SAS data file some data dot. Well, if I open read file, let's see. The some data file is that's not its correct location, so I actually need. So proc means data equals some data. First of all, let's just see if it's going to run for me. and then after that, um, it ran. So now what they probably want me to do next is, instead of calling it proc means data, SAS some data, I can just do proc means data equals, one of my libraries dot some data. So when I ran the file, run this program and observe the output, a table of descriptive statistics is created by proc means statement. So the main procedure gives me the observations of each column, the number of observations, the means, the standard, the minimum, so on and so forth. So now what they want me to do is to change the procedure to this, just to make sure that it's going to work. So I actually have two libraries that contains the SAS folders. I have mylib2 and my SAS lib. So here I'm going to do, notice no quotes. A little bit more serious. That should be it. It worked. And then when I did, done. All right, so that was pretty good. Just seems pretty nice to be able to do it that way. So make sure that you have your data uploaded. If you do not have your data uploaded, I'll show you the easiest way to do that. At this point, don't panic. You just click on a folder, create a folder, and then click on it, and then hit this button, upload. Choose files, goes to your computer, upload, bam. Your data will be here now. Where do you get the SAS data file? You got to find that. I don't know where you're going to get that. It should be a link somewhere, and then you'll get it, and then you'll be good. So I guess the other part of this is being able to import the data into the library. But I'm actually going to take a break. I'm going to take a short little break. I'll come back with more later. Take it easy.